Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Most Merciful. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in the series, In the Light of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah's peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. In this segment of the program, we'll be looking at a letter from K.S. Nurul Amin, who writes in asking, Dr. Bilal, my wife has a question concerning wearing the hijab when entering the bathroom. Can one make wudu without covering the hair in the bathroom? The covering of the hair is a requirement for women when they leave their homes, or if they're in their homes in the presence of individuals whom they should marry or could marry. Other than that, the requirement for covering the head doesn't exist. In some cultures, it has become very common, it's commonly taught that when a young woman is reciting the Quran, she must cover her head. When women are eating food, they must cover their heads. And now I'm hearing, this is a new one on me, that when a woman is making wudu in the bathroom, she must also cover her head. None of these have a foundation in Islamic teachings. If a woman wishes to cover her head while reciting the Quran, it's perfectly legitimate. If she wishes to cover her head at the table, if she wants to wear her scarf in the home, it's perfectly legitimate. If when she's making wudu in the bathroom, she also wishes to cover her head, Islam doesn't say she cannot cover her head. However, for her to think, or to believe, or to be taught that it is a requirement of her to do these things, this now enters into the realm of bid'ah, or innovation in the religion, where we're now making its rules of worship, because covering of the head, etc., is connected now to acts of worship. Reciting the Quran, acts of worship. That we are now making rules for acts of worship which were not taught by Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing be upon him. And as such it becomes innovation. As the Prophet Muhammad said, Man ahdatha fi amrina ma laysa minhu fahuwa rad. Whoever brings something new into this affair of ours, into Islam, which has not been approved by us, it is rejected by Allah. Allah will not accept it from them. As the Prophet said, مَا تَرَكْتُ شَيْئًا يُقَرِّبُكُمْ إِلَى اللَّهِ إِلَّا وَأَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ. I have not left anything which would bring you closer to Allah except that I have commanded you to do it. This is it. The religion was complete with Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing be upon him. So, we can say as a general rule for women, it is not a requirement for them to cover their hair when using the bathroom making wudu, when they're in the bathroom making wudu, when they're reciting the Quran, when they're eating, or at any other time. I don't know, maybe there are other customs held in other places where women are also required to cover their hair. Some cultures I know, I've been told, also require a woman to cover her hair in front of her father. It requires her to do this. If she wishes to do it out of her own modesty, she may do it. But to say she must, she should, this is not from Islam at all. Our next question, also from another sister, Sister Lisa Abdullah, she writes, Dear Dr. Bilal, does the clipping of one's nails break wudu? Clipping of one's nails. This comes under the general category, right, of acts. If a person is in a state of wudu, a state of ablution, a state of purity created by the act of ablution, this ritual washing of the body parts, known as wudu, or the whole body known as ghusl. When a person is in this state, now they remove a part of their body on which, this act was performed, does this now break their state of ablution? Isn't the principle involved here? No, it does not. A woman who is wearing her scarf, who made wudu, can wipe over her scarf. Some scholars say she must have wiped over her head before putting on the scarf earlier, and she didn't take the scarf off, although there really is no evidence for this. There's no evidence. In the case of wiping on the sock for the feet, yes, if one is to wipe on one's socks, one should have put on those socks in a state of tahara. They had already made wudu washing the feet, and they put on the socks. After that, for the next 24 hours, if they are residents, they may wipe on the sock. If they're travelers, they may do so for 72 hours, or 3 days. This is permissible for them. Now, that is specifically stated by Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing be upon him. With relationship to wiping on scarves, as it's recorded that the Prophet ﷺ, wearing a scarf-like garment on his head, he wiped on it. It's called a khimar. He also wore it. Sometimes on his turban, he wiped on his turban. There is no mention that he had put on his turban or put on the scarf having made wudu. So this is an assumption made by deducing, saying, well, okay, this is similar to the foot. And no, but Allah knows. Allah knows. Can we really argue that it is in fact similar to the foot? No, because the head is wiped and the foot is washed. The primary requirement for the head is wiping. You're not allowed to wash your head. I mean, when you're making wudu, to pour water all over your head, this is not wudu. You're doing something else. You're making ghusl. This is what you do when you're making a ghusl, a complete bath. Whereas for the foot, the primary requirement is washing the foot. So the concession is wiping on the sock instead of washing the foot. But the primary requirement for the head is wiping the head. So the concession may be wiping on a scarf or a turban or a cap which covers the whole head instead of wiping the head. It's enough without requiring the person to have had wudu before. Just like it's well known, if a person is hurt and they put on a cast, they have a cast on their hand, when they're making wudu, they can wipe on this cast. It's not a requirement that you had to have had, wudu. When your arm was broken, they stitched up your arm before they put on the cast. You had to make wudu on this. No, nobody argues this. Everybody accepts that you can wipe on the cast, or whatever, your bandage, without any problem. So, if we can do it in this case over the arm, when the arm is normally washed, then surely we can wipe on the head covering when the head was not previously wiped. Anyway, this is an argument. But the point of the matter is this. If a person wiped on their head covering while making ablution, their ablution is complete, and they took off the head covering, is their ablution nullified? No, it's not. There's no evidence for it. Similarly, if one has made ablution and one clips the nails, it's a part, so pieces of your body on which ablution were performed is now removed from your body. Does that break your state of ablution? No. To say that it does, one must bring evidence. There is no evidence to show that it does do so. The next question is from Brother Rahman, Shahidul Rahman, Brother Shahidul Rahman. He writes, saying, what are the sunnat acts when occupying a new house? Sunnah, acts from the sunnah when occupying a new house. When going into a new house, or going into a home in general, there are different supplications which the Prophet ﷺ taught. Among them, seeking refuge أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. Seeking refuge in Allah's perfect words from the evil that He has created. People in the time of the Prophet ﷺ invited the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings upon him, to pray in their home. However, there is no set of rituals for people to do when occupying a new home. I know that Shahid al-Rahman is referring to a series of practices which I've come across in places like Sri Lanka and others, where when a person comes into a new home, they have special things that are put in bungalows, and are put in boxes and hung